Number 10. Husband Killer. Amber Hilberling is responsible for the savage and heartless murder of Josh Hilberling, who years ago in 2011 she just married to. Josh was found on the street after tumbling 25 floors down from the apartment where he was living with Amber. At the time of his death, Amber was pregnant. At first, the police simply thought it was an accident. It seemed that the man took a bit of a spill out of his window, but before long, they became convinced that Amber was the one who killed her husband on purpose by shoving him to his death. In Amber's defense, she claimed that Josh was abusive and that she pushed him to defend herself. She had to protect herself and her unborn baby from his cruelty. She also added that she didn't mean to kill him and that when she pushed him, he just kind of ended up falling out of the open window. Whatever way you look at it, Amber was a very dangerous woman. The issue was taken to court and Amber was sent to prison for murder for 25 years. Her son, once he was born, went to live with Amber's family. This became an extremely controversial decision by the court because her husband had been abusive. He had gotten addicted to drugs, and he was a danger to Amber and her unborn baby. Whereas some people get less than 10 years for a brutal murder, Amber got life for allegedly defending herself during a violent attack by her spouse. In 2016, Amber died in prison. Number 9. Revenge Gone Wrong. In Michigan in 2020, a woman was arrested for trying to firebomb somebody's SUV. Her name is Sydney Parham, 26 years old at the time of the incident. You may actually recognize this woman because her dangerous assault went viral. She threw an explosive into the SUV, only to have it explode right in her face. She was blown backwards from the explosion. Then she scuttled away, badly hurt. And no surprise, it happened in a Detroit suburb. Sydney was arrested, stuffed in jail, and couldn't pay the $20,000 bond to get out. The police say her motive behind throwing a red gasoline can into the back of an SUV in an attempt to burn it down was that she was angry. She was mad at her boyfriend, presumably for cheating on her, and so she wanted to blow up his car. It might be worth noting that if a woman is so angry at you that she's willing to blow up your car, you might be better off without her anyway. Sydney is obviously extremely dangerous and belongs behind bars. Number 8. Mother and daughter conspirators. A Missouri mother and daughter proved to be two of the most dangerous and most criminally insane women in recent history. The story starts with Diane and Mark Stout, high school sweethearts. The couple bought their first house in Springfield and raised 4 children. Diane was a church organist, and Mark was a guitarist of a local blues band. On the outside, they seemed like perfectly normal people, but Diane eventually went on to become a nurse and make more money than her husband. Her daughter Brianna happened to have a learning disability. Her son had autism. Her other daughter lived at home and had no job. Their final daughter, Rachel, was a star student and the real winner in the family. She played the flute, she was good at math, and she was just all around great. Rachel was Diane's favorite. She didn't care much for her other kids. Then in 2012, Mark Stout suddenly died. His death was ruled as natural causes because he didn't have a very healthy lifestyle. Diana received $20,000 from his life insurance policy and moved the family to a neighborhood and a bigger house. The same year, Sean, the boy with autism, was also found dead. Diane said that he had been sick for several weeks, so it wasn't a big surprise when he died. His death was ruled as natural, and nobody really questioned it. In 2013, the police were given an anonymous tip that there was foul play involved in the 2 deaths. The police began to investigate, and they found that Diane and Rachel had been scheming to kill off the rest of their family members so it can just be the 2 of them. They were planning to take out their family one by one to collect as much insurance money as possible and to live a good life without what they thought of as the losers of the family. Instead, they spent their lives in jail. Number 7. GAIL the Murderess. Dawn and GAIL had been together for 30 years. They had been through a lot together in the 3 decades. On the outside, it seemed like they could never be separated, but behind the veneer and normalcy, there was some real bad stuff going on. The love had evaporated from the relationship, and GAIL had started to hate her husband. She hated him so bad that she beat him to death and then cut his body into small pieces. Nobody would have thought back in the 70s that cheerleader GAIL Hutchinson would cut apart her boyfriend 30 years later. Chances are, GAIL had never thought that would be the ultimate outcome of their relationship either. She got pregnant in high school. They had more kids after high school, and Dawn worked at the local paper mill. But everything changed in 1984 when GAIL's mother accidentally lit herself on fire while smoking a cigarette in her trailer. GAIL fell apart after that, and not long after, Don found a tumor on his spinal cord. The operation left him unable to work, and suddenly the family was plunged into poverty. From here on, it was nothing but trouble. On March 29, 2004, Don's head and his limbs were found dumped beside a parkway in Buncombe County. His death was caused by blunt force trauma. When they finally caught up to GAIL, she admitted that she beat her husband to death. The cops found her trying to hide in a crawl space beneath the storage shed, wrapped up in a sheet. She had been trying to get a $150,000 insurance policy from her husband's death. But obviously, insurance policies don't really cover murder. She was given 18 years in prison for the crime. Number 6. Femme Fatale Delivery Service. Tiago de Lima was once a crime boss who employed motorcycle women to deliver his drugs across the city of London using trademark pink backpacks. Forget about Tiago, as he was a scummy drug dealer and has been sent to jail for 18 years. It's the Femme Fatale Delivery Service we're here to talk about. Tiago was selling over 90 different drugs, including all the major ones like cocaine and weed, but he was also selling prescriptions. He had an advertisement of 9 pages showing off a shopping list of drugs that people could buy, and when they wanted to buy the drugs, Tiago had his lady motorcycle drivers cruising around from Monday to Saturday, 1 p.m. to 10 p.m., with pink backpacks full of drugs. It's not clear exactly where he managed to hire all these female delivery drivers, but according to police evidence, he also employed a bookkeeper and a manager. His manager, a woman named Vanessa Ananias, took care of all of his distribution centers and organized many of the deliveries. She was sentenced to 6 years in jail. As for the couriers, they were each jailed for 4.5 years. And if you were wondering how much a courier made for delivering drugs through London, it was about $300 a day in US currency. Number 5. Theresa the Torturer. Theresa Jimmy Francine Knorr, or more easily called Theresa the Torturer, was convicted of torturing and murdering 2 of her children and then using her other kids to cover up the crimes. As for right now, she's serving 2 life sentences at the California Institution for Women. Theresa was a typical abuser. She tortured her kids by beating them, burning them with cigarettes, and even throwing knives at them for fun. She did this for years, forcing some of her kids to hold the others down as she beat them and burned them. She even once pointed a pistol at her youngest daughter's head and threatened to murder her. At the end of the day, all 6 of her children suffered at the hands of their mother. Finally, in 1982, Theresa believed that her daughter Susan was casting spells on her, and that was why she was gaining weight. Obviously, the kid denied that she was casting spells, but regardless, Theresa shot her in the back with a .44 caliber handgun. Susan recovered from the bullet wound, but 2 years later, Theresa stabbed her with a pair of scissors and refused to let her go to the hospital for treatment. Instead, she ordered one of her sons to perform the operation himself at only 15 years old, using a knife. The operation led to Susan's death. Shortly after, Theresa also murdered her daughter Sheila. Then in 1993, this terrible woman was finally arrested and charged on 2 counts of murder. Her surviving kids all turned out to be completely insane. Number 4. Robbing a bank, beating her stepfather. In Memphis, Tennessee, a woman had been arrested for robbing a bank and beating up her stepfather. On October 14, 2021, an elderly man phoned the police in Memphis and explained that his stepdaughter had viciously assaulted him. His stepdaughter, Charlo Archie, was a very dangerous and explosive woman. She came into his house uninvited, began to pillage things from his fridge, and then punched him repeatedly in the face when he told her to leave his food and go away. The victim was 72 years old when she beat him up. On her way out, Charlo broke a hole in the wall, smashed a TV, and threatened to kill everyone. Less than 2 weeks later, she was busted robbing the First South Financial Credit Union. She walked in during the lunchtime traffic and demanded that the teller give her money. Police then tracked her down, seeing as she wasn't a very good criminal, and charged her with abuse of a vulnerable adult and aggravated robbery. Number 3. Elderly and disorderly. Just because a woman gets old doesn't mean she stops being dangerous. In the Egyptian city of Nasser, a woman of 70 years old beat her husband to death with a crutch. Her husband was 10 years older, pushing past 80. According to the Egyptian local media, the pair got into an argument because he kept calling her, but she never responded because she had poor hearing. The man then got so angry that he tried to whack her with his cane. She was quick, snatched the cane away from him, and then beat him to death with it. The police received a report from the local hospital that an elderly man had been rushed with evidence of a beating. When the police investigated the body, they found that the husband had been bludgeoned in the head. and other parts of his body with a weapon. When questioned, the wife admitted what she did, although she did say that it wasn't her intention to kill him. It just kind of happened. The wife has since been arrested, though considering her age, it's unclear what exactly the authorities will do with her. Number 2. Judy Moran. Judy Moran was the matriarch behind the infamous Moran crime family of Australia. The family has ties going all the way back to Ireland, before Australia was ever even its own country. At least, that's what they say. The family dealt in all the usual mafia crime: extortion, drug trafficking, and murder. Judy was at the head of all of it. Her first husband was shot dead in a drug-related conflict with another gang in 1982. Her son Mark was murdered in 2000, while her other son was murdered in 2003. The man she was in a relationship with after her first husband, Lewis, was then killed in 2004. Basically, everyone in her family except her ended up dead from gang violence. She really was at the top of the pyramid. But in 2011, Judy was sentenced to spend 26 years in jail for the murder of Des Moran, the brother of Lewis, who'd she gotten separated from in 1995 and was killed in 2004. Des was shot in the head in a Melbourne cafe in 2009. Even though she didn't physically pull the trigger, she did pay an assassin to kill the man, and for that, she was guilty of murder. And number 1. Getting the kids to help. A woman from Laporte shot and killed her husband, then used an axe to partially cut his body up. Not only that, but this dangerous psychopathic woman then got her 2 teenage kids involved in a botched attempt to ditch the body. The killer's name is Thessalonica Allen, and she was charged in July of 2021 with the death of her husband, Randy Allen. She was also charged with contributing to the delinquency of a minor, the abuse of a corpse, and neglect of a dependent. After Thessalonica killed her husband, she had his body stuffed in a closet inside a tote. She had needed to cut his legs off with an axe to fit him into the tote. Then she had her young kids help get the tote with his body into her vehicle. Unfortunately for her, the body was too heavy, even for her and the 2 kids. They couldn't get it in the car. After this failed attempt, she tried to get one of her friends to help ditch the body, but the friend went to the police instead of helping cover up a murder. Thessalonica was swiftly apprehended. When asked by the authorities why she shot her husband, she claimed that it happened after a physical altercation. She said she only did it to defend herself, but the moment that she started chopping his body with an axe, well, all her credibility really went out the door. Which of these femme fatales terrify you the most? Let us know in the comments, and thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe and check out more of our great videos. See you next time.